It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and young guns Billy Derrick and Michael Cindric. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Monday. What are we, middle of January, toward the latter part of the month? We've been very fortunate. It has not been bad at all. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the winter of 2023 continues the way it is right now. Let's check in up on the plateau. We'll start things out by saying hello to Coach Watson Brown. Watson, how are you?
George, I'm doing great. I really am. Enjoyed football all weekend. Cool day, but nice day. What else could a man want?
So you watched all four?
I most definitely did. Don't think I missed a play.
Okay. I'll admit, I'm not surprised.
Can you say the same thing, George?
Yeah, I may have missed a few at the end of the Giants debacle. Other than that,
there's no shame in that.
No, not at all. Billy, how are you today?
I'm doing great, George.
That's wonderful.
I was going to ask, has it been this long in a year where it hasn't really gotten like freezing cold yet in January?
Well, we got it all.
It got real cold now.
Oh.
We got it in December, but in January, I don't know that it's been this long of a wait till it's gotten frigid cold.
No, let's hope it continues.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, that's good to know. Michael, did you watch a lot of football?
Watched a bunch of football. It was good. It was the old Cowboys. They didn't come out on the winning end. That was tough. But at this point, I mean, in my life, that's kind of been the story of it, being a Cowboys fan.
Oh,
so
poor baby.
I know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was disappointing.
You have not gotten to experience the Braves of 2021.
No, I haven't. No, it's I'm waiting for that. And at this point, the outlook, I'm not sure it's coming anytime soon.
Well, here's what I do know. Defensively, there was nothing wrong with what they did yesterday.
No, there's no doubt about it. The Tony Pollard injury, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
The Tony Pollard injury hurt.
So it's a killer.
He's a stud.
He's got the electricity that right now Zeke just doesn't have anymore.
Zeke he's lost a step.
Oh,
but
they used him as a short yardage back.
He's just a bowling ball in there. But and I hope for Tony Pollard, just because I hope for his sake that any of the injury, I know he's got a contract coming up with somebody, and I hope that doesn't play a role into it. He deserves a really nice contract. He's had a phenomenal career with Dallas so far.
Watson, on Ezekiel Elliott, did they just simply run him too much in the first 2 years, and this is the result of not being able to handle the wear and tear?
That's why I was very surprised the contract they gave him, because you just don't see teams rolling out money to running backs like that, because at any moment when it's gone, and they're beat on more than anybody, any skill player, and it ain't even close. It's not even close, especially now that quarterbacks are treated the way they are. And that's why I wonder why a lot of these teams throw so much money in these feet-first quarterbacks, George. I mean, they're no different than a running back, and they can reach a point where they're not as fast as they were. They can have had an injury that slowed them down. When your feet are very important to you as a quarterback and you're going to run the ball a lot, I don't understand why they don't treat them more as running backs, because they get banged on by these big bodies, man. I'm going to talk about Dak here in a little bit, I'm sure, when we get to that, but I don't think he's had near the quickness since his injuries. And I've been watching Dak for a long time, and being a Mississippi State fan and coaching there for years, and I don't know. I don't understand putting too much money. That'd be like all that guaranteed money that that Lamar wanted, man, I wouldn't put a lot of guaranteed money on a feet first quarterback.
Okay, let me kind of tell people before we go to the update something that we're going to do later. If you're watching the show live at 3 p.m., we're going to let you hear the entire 26 minutes of the Ran Carthon press conference from Friday. Now, some of you have gotten some clips from that press conference. Very few of you have seen the entire thing. This is one of these deals. I don't know if it's the right thing or the wrong thing, but given that we have the ability to do what we want to do here, we're going to go ahead and run the whole thing for you. Then after it's over, we'll give you some commentary on what we have heard that I think you will enjoy, good, bad, or indifferent. Billy, what do we got in the update?
George, we start in Dallas, and I know we're going to get deeper into this, but Jerry Jones is frustrated. This just in. He said the loss didn't change his opinion on Mike McCarthy, but he was clearly frustrated by another early exit. He called this loss very sickening. The Cowboys haven't made it to the conference championship game since winning the Super Bowl in 1995. And George, a little stat for you. The last time the Cowboys made a conference championship game, Barry Switzer was the head coach.
Yes.
So I'm sure you guys knew that.
I remember him, and I also remember the game. So, Watson, does this end the concept of Sean Payton going to Dallas? I mean, I've got to think it does.
I don't think he's letting his coach go. So, yeah, I don't see it, and I don't think Sean's going to wait. Everything I'm seeing, he's partly on the show yesterday. I mean, everything that
sure looks like a lot of stuff going on.
I think it's pointing to him taking one of these jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. My guess, not that it's worth anything, he'll be a Denver Bronco.
Yeah. Carolina's playing around now and watch them behind the scenes. I'm telling you. But if I'm the Saints, if it's Carolina,
I'd jack up the price.
I'd be getting an arm and a leg with them being in the division with me, man. I don't know that I can handle that.
I think it's going to be interesting, the Cowboys' moves over the offseason, what they do. Because last year at the end when they got beat, they kind of had this idea of let's just kind of run it back with the same guys that we've got. They didn't make any big splashes. If anything, they lost a couple guys in free agency. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, is Jerry okay with that answer? Or is he wanting to make some drastic moves? It'd be hard for me to think that they just want to run it back with the same guys. They got a big decision with Tony Pollard. They've got some big decisions to make because they're kind of in this middle ground area. And honestly, it was kind of where probably the Titans were a couple of years ago, and they decided to trade A.J. Brown. Look how that happened. So it's just going to be interesting to see. I don't think Jerry's going to be content to just kind of let it go for another year.
They sure had a lot of people in that suite yesterday. A lot of the beautiful people were with Jerry. How about them Cowboys?
You didn't get much of that.
No.
Not too many Cowboy chants from the old
You might have midway through the first half.
You probably did. George, the Chiefs have opened as an early 1.5-point favorite over the Bengals next week, and Mahomes suffered a high ankle sprain in the win. After the game, Andy Reid said that Mahomes has played through ankle injuries before. He said, let's just see how it goes here the next couple of days. It's going to be sore, I know, but let's see where he's at. He's had this before, and he was able to keep pushing through. Crazy stat here. Mahomes has been to the AFC Championship every season.
Yeah.
He's been the starter.
Pretty amazing. Remember, you heard this. By kickoff, Cincinnati will be the favorite. There will be, because here's what's going to happen. Kansas City's, and rightfully so, going to be very coy. It's a game time decision. Yeah, sure it is. But this is a serious injury. And to think that you're just going to snap your fingers here and this is all going to work out, man, I don't know.
I think that I can probably speak with a lot of confidence that, I mean, it was impressive that he could play through that. But, you know, Watson, you know it too, getting to see that ankle is sore today. There ain't no doubt about it. I mean, I bet he is really hobbling around on it right now. And it needs to be a really good week of rehab because high ankle, that stuff just doesn't go away in 5 days. That's lingering. Hopefully adrenaline can carry you through, but when that adrenaline wears off the first day or two after a high ankle sprain, you're pretty miserable. It feels like you need a walking boot, depending on how bad it is. So
it don't matter. He's going to play, but he's not going to play up to his ability, and I can tell you that right now. Right. So he's not going to be what he normally is. He's going to have to hang around the pocket and make plays, and it takes away half of their game, in my opinion. Half of their passing game is outside the pocket, are his unbelievable moves around the pocket, and they're not by design near as much as you think they are, and it's his tight end sliding around while they're scrambling, and they know each other so well. That part of the game is going to be gone. So I would say Bengals are favorites today. I don't have to wait till Saturday myself. I think the Bengals are favorites.
How much of that line is Mahomes' injury as opposed to the Bengals maybe getting a little bit more respect now?
Well, first of all, we're having to admit that Cincinnati's really good. Are they good enough to go to Kansas City and win? I think they answered that question a year ago.
Yeah.
So we know they're fully capable. But then you pile on all of what Watson just talked about, the injury and what it means for Travis Kelce and all of the above. Cincinnati, to me, feels like the 3-point favorite in the game. They just do.
Say Mahomes is perfectly healthy. What do you think the line is?
2 or 3.
2 or 3?
KC 3.
I think it's 2 or 3 going in. But they've lost to them 3 straight times now, guys. So,
yeah.
The Bengals have beaten the Chiefs 3 times in a row.
And they've had the Bills number too.
It's in their heads a little bit. In their heads a little bit. They were the first to do the 3-man rush and the 4th guy being a spy. And it really pestered them to death. And now a lot of teams are doing this to people. But they were the first. And since that point, they have not beaten them. That, believe me, every year they lose another one to them. I've been there, done that on both sides of that deal. I've been on the winning side to where the other team and I've been on the losing side of that. And it's the longer it goes, I don't care how much you talk, the harder it gets to win that game.
Watson, quick question for you. Do you think with Mahomes' probably lack of ability to scramble this week, they're going to either take that spy and make him an extra guy in coverage or just come after him a little bit?
They'll keep that because it's been so good to them, Michael. And they're going to keep that, but they won't do it as much. They did it yesterday. Mm-hmm. They did it yesterday to Buffalo. Quite a bit in the game, and just had a guy right on Josh as soon as he'd take off. Here a guy is. And the one thing you got to make sure is the guy you got as a spy can tackle that guy. Yep. It's one thing to spy him. It's another if you can't catch him. And Cincinnati's been smart on who that guy is. It's one of their defensive linemen. It shows you how good these defensive linemen are, guys.
Amazing.
That you can take a guy on Josh Allen who can run as well as a tailback, and he can be a defensive end. It's the kid that caught the fumble in midair and ran it for a touchdown. He was the spy yesterday. And to be that athletic at 6'6", 300, 295, 305, whatever he is, it's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. I'd have had to take a DB to do that with my teams. I couldn't have done that with a defensive lineman. So, But Michael, I don't think they'll do it as much because I think they're going to want to put people in Patrick's face.
Right.
And what I think they'll want to do this week is press the pocket, just press it straight back, right in his face. He's not real tall. A lot of his throws are around you because he moves so well. I mean, if you really broke him down, I'm telling you, I'm not sure 25% are by design that he throws on time. Mm-hmm. And most of those are 5-6 yard patterns. They're not the downfield throws. He's so unbelievable. Touchdown yesterday. I mean, to win the game Saturday, he always jumps on his right foot because anytime you scramble, if you're a quarterback and you're going to your left or your right, which foot do you throw off of? Always on your right foot. You always throw off your right foot on the run if you're right-handed. I don't care if you're going left or right. So he jumps and throws on his right foot. What the kid do for the winning touchdown pass? Jumped on his left foot, held his right one up in the air, jumped on his left foot, and throws the ball in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, he is absolutely unbelievable.
We're going to take a look at that play when we talk about the game,
He's
Watson.
a stud.
And it's on the wrong foot.
Yep. We got
It's
such a good
on the
matchup
wrong
this
foot.
weekend.
Watson, you talked about the Bengals defense. Lou Anarumo he's going to be a head coach somewhere next year. I mean, what he's done the past few years has been phenomenal.
Yeah, may take one more, but yeah, he's going to be
Eventually. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
guys. They're good on defense. That defensive front is really good.
Yep.
It is really, really good. It's Tennessee Titan good in a lot of ways, and I'm going to get into that later, but their defensive front's really good.
George, we got some college hoops to get into. New top 25 has been released. Purdue, number 1, Alabama, number 2, Houston, number 3, and Tennessee bumped up to number 4. They will play Georgia on Wednesday and K-State.
Let me tell you something. This guy, Jerome Tang, National Coach of the Year.
What are they?
Season stop today. He's it.
They're 17-2, aren't they?
He's hired a buddy of mine, Anthony Winchester, a former Western Kentucky basketball star, is on that staff, and we're going to get with Anthony here in the next couple of weeks. But go ahead. I know we got to move here.
Yeah, we got one more, George, kind of a downer. Georgia wide receiver Rodarius Thomas was arrested early this morning on a felony charge of false imprisonment and misdemeanor battery, family violence. Not that this means a whole lot. Didn't really see this guy at all this year. But Georgia has also had some transfers out. But don't think that'll affect that wide receiver room much.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go to the break on that. When we come back, no big surprise. We'll get into the NFL playoffs, give you some commentary around it all. It looks like the best 4 teams may have gotten there. Stay tuned.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
So here we go with some NFL playoff talk from what happened over the weekend. Watson, whatever the injury status for Patrick Mahomes, this is one tough dude. Man, he just refuses to just bow out and say, I'm really hurt.
No, man, wouldn't you love to have him on? 32 years as a head coach, 46 years in the business, all but 3 of those as a coordinator or a head coach. Would not to like to have this guy on every team I had. And I don't care about his ability. I would love to have had his toughness, because his toughness and competitiveness would rub off on the rest of the team. And I'm talking about if he was my quarterback. And, of course, I'd love to have had his ability, but I probably wouldn't have some of the places I coached. But I don't know. He's unbelievably tough. Had tears in his eyes on that last throw. I know that hurt because they picked him up off the ground to get him off the field. Don't think that doesn't rub off in a clubhouse, George. My gracious. And that's why don't count this bunch out this weekend. Don't count him out. He'll be half of what he is, but there's a knack there. And that backup takes him 98 yards, 15 plays, and it's the drive that won the game. In my personal opinion, That won the game. And that bunch is hard to beat. They're better on defense slightly better than they've been on defense. There's the throw that wins the game right there. There is the throw that wins the game. And I don't know. Just watch him. And you think he's always doing it on his right foot. But now watch. He jumps on his left foot and won't even put his right foot on the ground. It's up in the air and comes down on his left foot. Everything completely fundamentally unsound that he just did, and the ball is dead on target in the back of the end zone. He is the best in the business at moving in the pocket and keeping his eyes focused downfield. The best in the business. Joe Burrow is pretty dadgum good at it too. But I still say Patrick Mahomes is the best at getting away from problems and still finding a way to make plays.
Here is the mystery to me, and I want both of y'all to talk about this. Any moron going into that game knows, okay, we've got to limit Travis Kelce's touches. He cannot go off. So what happens? He catches 14 balls. There are times where I look at Jacksonville defensively, I'm like, are you all aware that 87's out there? How is this happening?
It's a total collapse. Watson, you could probably talk about this a whole lot more than I could, but just from a college football defensive philosophy, you just cannot let teams beat you with what they want to do and with what they're most comfortable doing. Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce is the most comfortable thing that Kansas City can get into. And obviously it's easier said than done. I mean, you got 10 other guys on the field. It's one thing to say it. It sounds good. It's another thing to do it. But from a defensive philosophy, I mean, Kansas City still might beat you doing a bunch of different things, but you can't lay your head at that night and say, we let Travis Kelce just run absolutely wild, because Kansas City didn't look that uncomfortable. I mean, outside of the Patrick Mahomes injury, they were getting to, I mean, if you get 14 targets and catches to Travis Kelce, you are getting to what you want to do. And so you can't let it happen. Watson, what do you think?
I'll defend them a little bit. I saw times they were really trying to double him, but Kansas City is unbelievably good at hiding him. You have to be a defensive guy to understand where I'm coming from. Okay, if you sit him over here to the right as a wide receiver, it's easy to double him. If you set him inside to the right or the left as an inside receiver the whole game, that's easy to double him. But this guy's in the backfield. It's quick motion. He's stacked behind two dudes. He comes across to the other side in quick motion. He hangs right behind the guard, and then he'll go one way or the other. Think about all the time in practice you're trying to come up with double teams and who's going to double him? Okay, if he goes this way, then this safety over here with this guy. If he goes this way, then this safety with this guy. If he's in the middle, this linebacker and this guy. If he's sitting middle left, it's this. But all of a sudden, he quick motions, they snap the ball. It's a change now of who's doubling him on the other side. A lot harder to do than you think when you're that creative. Just like I say, you sit a dude still and you say double him, you can do that. But these offensive guys have gotten so creative in hiding people that it's really hard to do. You've got the call on, but by a little motion, if you're watching up-to-date offenses today, guys, there's near motion on every play. Somebody is moving on every play. There's two reasons for that. Confusion when these defenses What's the difference in the pro game, Michael and George, defensively? They run the same coverages as they do in college against the pass type offenses, not against a pro, but a college team that throws it gets these coverages. But the college team doesn't disguise it as well. And so when it's why do they disguise well? If you sit still, they can disguise on you. But if you're moving somebody around, it's hard to disguise and keep your stuff on. The last thing I'd say about doubling him, if you call any zone at all, you can't double him. You can lean the zone toward him, but that don't stop him. I saw him lean zones at him, and he'd whirl and come back underneath the linebacker, and Mahomes is hitting him with the ball on the 8 before he even clears the linebacker. So I'll defend Jacksonville that way, and I think it'll be hard to do it again this week. Now, catching 14 balls, he caught a lot of balls, but he didn't get a lot of yards. But he did catch a couple of touchdowns. But his yardage wasn't real high. But he moves to chains.
Yeah.
The other way he catches so many balls that double teams, guys get hard. Scrambles. You're doubling him in a way you double people. Okay, you got him if he makes a move this way. You got him if he makes a move this way. All right, now he goes here, then he starts here. Oh, it's a scramble. Then he goes there. Well, the other guy may have fallen off to get somebody else when the guy goes to the right. The left one don't just keep going with him all the time in these coverages. So when the scramble starts, it changes everything. And that's one advantage that I think that Cincinnati will have is that they will be able to – the scramble will not be there. So they're not going to have to work as much on that as they did. But so you're right, Michael. There's no way you can win that game letting him catch 14 balls. But again, I saw doubles. They just couldn't pull it off.
Watson, I think you're exactly right too. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth here, probably in the middle. I mean, it's like playing Kansas City is like being in a boxing ring with somebody, and all of a sudden they got a foot that they can use to kick and a knee. You know, they're so creative. And they kind of break the rules of they're so unorthodox that they break the rules of what normal teams can do. And so, I mean, I think your analysis there is so spot on. Of when you got Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce, they don't play the game of football how people are used to playing the game of football. It's creative. It's truly different. It's hard
truly
to
basketball on turf, Michael. It's basketball on turf. If you've been a basketball player, it's basketball on turf. You're picking a guy clean. You're rolling him out. You're rolling him all the way on the other side of the zone. You're doing stuff like that.
Yes.
Think about this. You're going to double him on the goal line. You remember a week ago when they played to the last game of the season when they did that circular thing on the goal line in the huddle, guys?
Who's doing that?
And they circled that. The players came up with that, by the way.
That's insane.
They're doing a circle, and then they immediately go the line and snap the ball. If you're doubling Kelce, how do you know who's doubling Kelce when it happens that fast?
Yeah.
How's the communication going to work with that? That's what I'm talking about. There are going to be more and more teams copy this bunch.
Well, let me ask you this.
Mistake, I think, George, with Kansas City, they are too much pass first, run second. But people are copying them. Why are we interviewing two of their people with the Titans?
Right.
Why are we doing that? There's a dadgum reason why.
But you also better
want
to
learn more about how they go about getting to all the things they do.
Yeah. So if you're San Francisco, should you be stealing a little more of Kansas City stuff? I personally don't think, as much as I like San Francisco and how good I think they are, they're not using George Kittle enough.
No, but they're run first, pass second. So they don't have the opportunities to use him as much as Kansas City, George. Kansas City is pass first, run second. That's a big difference now. You're probably talking about maybe 14 call throws, 14 targets in a game, less. So it's a complete different style, even though they're pretty dadgum good at they use the motions and everything the same way, but they do it to create different issues than Kansas City does. Kansas City is the only team of the Final Four guys that's pass first, run second. I say the Bengals are 50-50, and the Eagles and the 49ers are run first, pass second. So this is the first time in a while that we have just got one team that's pass first, run second in the Final Four.
And I think too, it's a little bit of a philosophical difference as well of how they use their tight ends. With Kansas City, it's get Kelsey the ball as much as possible. Touches, get him the ball, get him the ball. And with Kittle's kind of their, I mean, if we're going to stay with the boxing, I mean, San Francisco is happy to jab all the time with McCaffrey, and Kittle's the guy that they want to go every now and then, right? When Shanahan's so patient, just as a play caller, over the top, or he's blocking and slips, and Purdy finds him on a post or on a wheel. It's not as much of a we got to get him as many touches, and that also helps when you've got Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. You can use that guy differently. The
difference, Michael, is Kittle is a blocker. He blocks over half a game.
Yeah.
Kelsey is not a blocker. Action. Kelsey will block here and there. If you'll watch him, their position kind of blocks. But this guy is a come off the ball blocker, and he's used that way. That 14 targets that Kelsey might be getting, Kitchens is blocking. So it's just a different style that's every bit as good. It's every bit as good. That's why I love football. There's so many different philosophies that can win. There ain't just one that can win. There's a lot of ways you can win, and there's 4 different ones in the Final Four. There's 4 different philosophies in the Final Four.
Okay, game number 2 on Saturday. Philly boat race the Giants. We congratulate the Giants for showing up. They will now move into the TCU region where teams just get the hell beat out of them.
Oh, no, TCU had doubled that score.
So. No, I know it. But on the pro level.
That picture sums it up. Daniel Jones on the ground.
Yeah, on the pro level, 38-7 is not pretty.
No.
So, Watson, did Daniel Jones reopen the discussion of whether he sticks around, or do we have enough other evidence to just say, look, it was a bad game?
I hope the Giants are smarter than that, because look at this. This ain't Daniel Jones's fault. They were all over this kid. They were all over him. He had no chance in this game. The Philadelphia Eagles are the most talented team of the Final Four. They got it all. They're very physical, very fast, very deep. This is the best team. Don't mean they'll win it. But I'm saying top to bottom, this is the best team. And the way they use their quarterback, having an extra runner and an extra blocker in the game because of him, that's another big advantage that the other 3 don't use. They just don't use it. So the Eagles, to me, dominated this game. This had nothing to do with Daniel Jones. I love it when somebody gets their clock cleaned and it's always the quarterback's fault. I love that. It's always the head coach, the quarterback, and the offensive coordinator. They got cleaned. This team physically beat the fool out of them. I mean, it wasn't even close from start to finish. The Giants won a lot of games they probably shouldn't have won during the year. I don't know they didn't show. I just think they got hit in the mouth real early, and, man, they couldn't respond. They just couldn't respond. But give the Eagles credit now. That was dominant. Totally dominant.
Okay, so let's ask the question. To me, the whole thing going into that game was whether Jalen Hurts was healthy. Did anybody see anything to indicate he's not?
No,
but I mean, I only saw one little smudge on his pants, so
it was a pretty.
He never hit the ground. Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit like Thursday practice. You don't touch the quarterback, Mm-hmm. I mean, the Giants didn't touch him. He didn't carry it, but 2 or 3 or 4 times. He's going to carry it a lot more come this weekend.
I think
he'll have 7-10 carries this weekend. I don't know. Throwing the ball, I couldn't see a flinch in him whatsoever, and he made some beautiful throws. I mean, they didn't even have to use A.J. Brown. Didn't even have to use him. But did you see some of the blocks he threw on the bubbles on the outside? My gracious. He looked like a tight end out there blocking. He blocked the corner on the touchdown to Smith.
Yep.
He blocked the corner from the 12-yard line into the end zone.
Straight to the pylon.
He is unbelievable. Michael, you were a blocker for a lot of your career. Yep. You know how good a block that was.
Did you make any blocks like that, Michael?
He put his hands on the guy at the 12-yard line, took him into the end zone. Unbelievable.
Actually, that's not true, Watson. He pushed him to the Liberty Bell.
Yeah. He's still blocking him right now as we speak.
Right. And Georgia just scored again on TCU.
Georgia just scored again. Yes.
Absolutely.
So did the Eagles.
Okay, so not a whole lot of need to talk about that one. It was over before the ladies sung the
How
anthem.
good do y'all think they are? Am I overstepping it? Do you think
I
they're the
don't know
best
yet.
team left?
Overstepping with what, Watson?
I'm talking about the
Monday.
depth of the whole team. I think that's the best team out there, the Eagles. I think they're the best team. Jalen's got to play good now, and he's not been there before. He's got to play good. I think they're better than the 49ers. I think they're going to beat the 49ers this weekend. I do. I think the quarterback piece will finally catch up a little bit this weekend.
Yeah.
It started to this past weekend. It started to this past weekend. But that kid is a tough nut. I know we're going to get to that game, George, but I just think the Eagles are the team right now.
Yeah.
Their line, their fronts on both sides of the ball are dominant now.
Yeah. Both the games are going to be so fun. I mean, you got the Eagles and Niners, and that's a whole different game than the Bengals and Chiefs. Like, it's like what those two games are going to look like are completely different.
It's a little bit of what the NFC and AFC are, really, Michael. The NFC is still a little bit of the old-time power football.
Right.
And the AFC is much more of the wide open. So here we go. Let's see which one wins out. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be Cincinnati and Philadelphia, and what a game that's going to be.
So let's go to Buffalo, because this is what we now know. The minute Von Miller got hurt, whether they knew it or not, Buffalo's season was over. They weren't worth a hoot on defense. And I started to see it 2 weeks ago. New England in the regular season finale pushed them around. Miami with an 8th string quarterback pushed them around. And yesterday, Cincinnati just manhandled them. And Watson, to me, no Von Miller, no Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Vaughn, what happens when you got one great player that's a pass rusher? You know where the offenses are going to turn the protection to. So you know the whole game. When you don't have a dominant one, they can do a lot of different things. But when you got to turn toward one dude and you know you better not turn toward him to get that extra help on him, I just think it makes a big difference. Losing Vaughn was big. I saw in the read this morning where another one of their starting defensive linemen's having surgery this week that played in the game. I just think it caught up with them. They're just not as good up front. They're not. They're not as good as the Bengals up front. And football, George and Michael, y'all can comment on it. I've always said this. It ain't changed. It hadn't changed since the 50s. If you're really good in the offense and the defense, if you're dominant in the offense and defensive lines, if you're better than who you're playing in the offense and defensive lines, and you got a bona fide quarterback and you don't turn the ball over, you win in a bunch of games.
Yep.
And that's what it was yesterday. Cincinnati was dominant on both sides of the ball. They totally controlled that game. They could have played a whole another game and it wouldn't have changed. They're just not as good. Bill's got a lot of work to do to catch up. And Josh Allen, my gracious, what a Trojan. Unbelievable. You talking about another tough nut now. But he's having to do it by himself. And what Diggs pulled at the end of that game was sickening. I get so tired of watching these receivers when they don't get the ball. I saw AJ do it in the Eagles game, and they're up 38-6. And he went over to the bench and sat by himself and pouted around. And then the head coach comes over and talks to him, and he won't even look at him. He turns his head away from him. I get tired of that. I don't understand it. But Josh Allen is a bona fide winner. The Bills better put a good team behind him because he deserves a chance to win one. He deserves a chance to win a Super Bowl.
The wide receivers are divas?
Yeah, I mean, you're up 30.
Well, not a guy that caught 3 passes or 10 passes in 3 years. He's not a diva.
Hey,
I mean, the guy sitting next to you is not a diva. He was a blocker. He played fullback.
Now I see where you were going with that, George.
Yeah, George knew exactly.
First of all, I
knew where he was headed.
I wondered why
I knew exactly where he was headed.
Where I was going.
Yes, I do. You were headed straight into your old buddy Michael right across the way there.
Well,
I just stopped it before you got there.
Hey, I appreciate it, Watson.
Sucks.
I do. Watson, one of the I know you're going to remember this because your brother was the coach at the time, but going back to your offensive and defensive line comparison, I know you remember the game right before Texas went to the national title. I was really young, and Texas played Nebraska, and Ndamukong Suh and that defensive line almost single-handedly won that game for Texas. for Nebraska, excuse me, and almost beat Colt McCoy in the Big 12 title game. And that's exactly what you're talking about. This,
Mac will tell you to this day, he won 2 games late in that year. Kansas was a luck game, and they weren't near as good as him. And Nebraska beat him all over the field, but they just had guys that makes plays. You don't win, Michael, very often when you've got a solid quarterback and your lines are just dominant. You just don't. Look at the SEC, George, through the years. You and I've been in it forever, and you've been watching it forever. The good teams always are just dominant up front on both sides of the ball. It's what they are.
Okay, let's get to the last game. And obviously Dak Prescott is the one coming in for the most criticism. Watson, I thought Dallas's defense played about as good as they could, but in particular in the fourth quarter, the lack of accuracy from Dak Prescott, whether it was the home run ball that he wasn't anywhere close on, or several balls where he threw behind receivers, I'm like, he should be past that by now. What's going on with him?
Two thoughts. Again, I'll finish it by defending him a little bit. I'll start with what Dak was from all the way back, George, when he was in college and was a no-name guy that made himself into something special at Mississippi State. He was a run-first, pass-second guy. He was in a quarterback run-oriented offense, threw the ball well, but it was always off the runs, and it was his feet first, as I say. He was a feet-first guy. He gets drafted and kind of a so-so guy in the draft and all that. He goes to Dallas. There's the injury to Romo. He gets his shot. Ezekiel Elliott at that point is Derrick Henry. I mean, he is one heck of a player now. And so everything went off Ezekiel, and those kind of throws for Dak, I think, were easier. Nothing's easy in the NFL. Easier, and it played to him. And so it made him a better player. I still don't think he's a great passer. I sure don't think he's a great drop back passer. And when they don't have that major run element like the 49ers do, it puts a lot of pressure on him. He's better to me when he gets man-to-man, one-on-one, throw it to a guy. That's when he's at his best. When you give him different mix-up of zone coverages, he doesn't seem to handle that well. He doesn't have a great sense of timing. That little option route he tried to throw underneath yesterday to Lamb was way late. I mean, way late. Look at Mahomes when Kelsey runs that route and how quick that ball hits Kelsey. And then look how late it was when Dak let it go to CeeDee Lamb, which was the last big play of the game. It wasn't fair to him a little bit yesterday. I'll defend him. He was trying to catch up in the second half. I just don't think that's what he is. If they want to go with him, and I think they absolutely should, build that strong running game back again and let him do his thing that way. I also don't think he's as quick, Michael, as he was after injury. Mm-hmm. I don't think he has that step he used to have that made a big difference.
Yep.
And think back when he was hot. He'd get out of that pocket kind of like Mahomes, and he's in space, and, Lord, he might run it 30 yards himself back in those days. So I think they've got to use him proper. And if they don't, it's going to be hard for him to just go win it as a drop back quarterback on his own guys. I really think it is.
Yeah. Watson, you're spot on, honestly, with all of it. And I'm not I don't want to take any of the blame off of Dak necessarily. I think that he didn't play well, particularly the whole game. But the Tony Pollard injury, I keep going back to that. I mentioned at the beginning. That is a guy that makes that offense go from kind of looking like a slow, a little bit stagnant offense to having a lot of explosive plays. And losing him really, really, really hurt. You got CeeDee Lamb, who's a phenomenal talent. But when you've got a guy like Dak, who frankly, he's not a guy that can play superhero. He needs some help around him. Let's just call him what he is. You need a guy like Tony Pollard who can catch a swing pass from the backfield and take it for 9, or who can, maybe break a run that Zeke wouldn't break. But also, I mean, let's be fair. Some of this has got to fall on Dak. If you have the ball with 3 minutes left and 3 timeouts to go score, you can't go 3 and out. Just can't happen, And so I think that Dak, and he took the criticism. That's one of the things I love about Dak is, he is great on the mic. He's never going to put any blame game. He's going to take ownership and accountability for it. And he said it's 100% on him. But I mean, it's like we talked about, Jerry's going to have some decisions to make, because if they're going to keep Dak, then they've got to keep a guy like Pollard. They've got to have some help around him.
Okay.
Well, they got to run the ball better. They got to run the ball better. Go back and look at the games they won and played good in. They ran the ball well.
Yep.
They ran the ball well in those games, and it gets hard on Dak. Fair or not fair, it gets hard on Dak when we got to throw to beat you now.
Right.
That's when it gets hard on him. If you go back and watch him, that's when a lot of bad things seem to happen to him. And when you lost Pollard, you lost your underneath dump off passes that, gosh, I can't tell how many caught through the year.
Yep.
And Zeke ain't anywhere close to him. To run the style they got to have a Pollard. So if he's having surgery on a leg, it's not a good thing. They better fix running back, Michael. Is one of the first things they better fix. And to think they can go get a better player than Dak Prescott, they're nuts. Right. It ain't going to happen. They just got to understand, to me, and this is an outsider, but they got to understand, know what he does good. I've always said, you put a quarterback into situations that he's not really good at, man, it shows fast. More than any position on the field, all of a sudden that guy's problems stick out. Yeah. And I think that's what happens to Dak when he gets in them all-out pass situations against, is San Francisco fast or what? Good Lord, are they fast. How about that linebacker? They're in what I call Tampa 2, which is George 2 deep, but your inside linebacker has to run with a guy down the middle of the field. That 54, what's his name? Help me.
Fred Warner.
Fred Warner. He turned, he's faking a blitz now, and they're playing Tampa 2. So he's up in the line of scrimmage. As soon as the ball snaps, he takes off running toward the middle of the field, and it's C.D. Lamb running right down the middle. Nobody but him and C.D. in the picture, and he's running foot to foot with him. I can't see many linebackers in the NFL doing that now. The 49ers are unbelievably fast on defense.
Mm-hmm. We'll go to the break. Studs and Duds are up next. Stick around. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. So in the world of studs and duds, this week I kind of mixed and matched a little bit of college basketball, pro football, and here's what I've come up with. Let's start with the studs. Did anybody notice that a mediocre Temple went to Houston and won? Where'd that come from?
Temple's like 12 and they're like 12 and 8. It's
12 and 9.
12 and 9. Yeah, it's not like they were
going
in. Right. Oh yeah, you got it right there. Sorry, I was guessing at it. Yeah, but I mean, who would have saw that at all?
Where'd that come from?
This says a lot about the state of college basketball. There's not an elite team. It's pretty wide open.
There's not a dominant number one for sure.
No.
Alabama's getting there.
Yeah, they might be.
Alabama
they might be.
No one's playing with Alabama the last 5-6 games.
And I thought about putting them in here and left them out. So let's go honorable mention studs to the Crimson Tide. Okay, number 2 is an absolute stud, Watson. Man, the guy just will not go down.
Did you see him on the sidelines when they told him to go in and get x-rayed and come out of the game?
He was pissed.
See, now you want to compare that to Stephon Diggs. That was genuine. Patrick is saying, please, no, I'm fine. Let me finish it. I'll do it at the half. It wasn't this snarly, it was a competitive, but by golly, the coach won out. He did slam down the coat he had on but took off to the locker room. Is there any of us that ever thought he wouldn't be back in the game in the second half? I mean, I knew he was coming back out to play, but he's just a warrior, George. So is Josh Allen, but he's a warrior.
That first handoff he had to make, I thought he's about to fall down. He was limping so hard.
No, it was not real smart of the play caller if that was the enemy. Why did you put him under the center with a sprained ankle?
Play, he couldn't stretch.
He could run that same play from the gun. I don't know why they put him under the center. I said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That was a little surprising.
What's exciting too, last thing is what we get to look forward to. I mean, we're at the beginning of Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. It's so fun watching them play. I mean, 1 year ago today was that insane game between the Chiefs and the Bills.
And I'm with Watson. Do not count out these Chiefs and Mahomes. They are. I guarantee you, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder after last year.
No, and this first time Cincinnati's kind of going in, even though George is probably right, they may be favorites by the end of the week. But everybody kind of feels they're the favorite now. This is the first time.
Right.
They've been the underdog in all this bunch, just like yesterday.
Not in Joe Burrow.
Selling those tickets in Atlanta to the Bills. People are buying up they have ways to motivate themselves. They're not going to be able to use it this week.
Give me those refunds.
Yep.
So Joe Burrow ends up third. No surprise there. And then let's move to the fourth one. Kansas State with the ugliest uniforms in college basketball. That god-awful pile of crap they wear. And yet they're pretty good.
What's his name, George? The coach?
Last name is Tang.
Tang?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was after a Kansas win, too. So they beat K-State, beat Kansas.
Beat Kansas
a couple of days ago.
I will say Texas Tech is 0-7 in the conference.
Yeah, but they're a dangerous.
No
they're not your normal 0-7.
Yeah. I mean, K-State, they got things cooking right now. And the Big 12 tournament itself is going to be incredible.
The NCAA needs to ban those uniforms. The purple on purple is hideous. Let's go to the duds. Yep. He's there. Move on.
I can't blame you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have put him in it, but I sure can't argue it. I agree. He's got to make the plays. I don't care if it's not what he does good or he don't do good. It's on him. He's got to make the plays.
We congratulate the Giants for making the tournament. They will move on, as I mentioned earlier, to the TCU region. By the way, Georgia just scored again. It's 109-7. It's awful. Check this one out. When was the last time Kansas got their butt handed to them at that place?
Been a long time.
What's going on with them? I mean, that wasn't even close.
I don't think they're all that good.
They might not be.
I think
national championship the year after You're
it
usually
doesn't look
struggle
like
a little bit.
there doesn't look like any national title there right now.
No.
You think about it, it's not like Kansas doesn't get beat every once in a while.
Sure.
But not by 23, not in that building.
No. And TCU, credit to them, if they're an honorary stud, probably. I mean, it's hard to go in there and play like that. They're a dangerous team that nobody's going to want any piece of come tournament time.
It's hard when you only go 4 each category.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the last one. It's fairly obvious. Watson said something right earlier. They could have played that game till 9 o'clock last night. It was never going to get any better.
Yep.
Couldn't control the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball, George. And probably, other than the Eagles, by far the most dominant game of the weekend. And it was close to as dominant as the Eagles. The score just wasn't as bad.
Is it
to be
as
very honest? I mean,
is it
I
as
don't know.
simple?
I also wonder, not to give them an excuse to throw this out, I wondered about their spirit and their brains and their heart. All they've been through, that team, since DeMar went down, that can wear on you now. That can wear on you as it goes, and you just, the emotion of it and the ups and downs of something like that happening. But that's not an excuse, because you could see it. The physicality difference in the two teams was not even close.
Mm-hmm.
After the break, we'll get to stat of the day. Then you will hear in its entirety the Ran Carthon press conference from Friday. It's about 26 minutes long. You may want to hear it. You may not, but we'll provide some commentary when it's over. Stick around.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. It's now time for Stat of the Day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. They're located in downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee, 204 East Depot Street. Tuesday through Friday is when you can find them, noon to 5. Also Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. That's 931-492-4304. All right, let's get to stat of the day, see what Michael's got following a big divisional round weekend in the NFL. That's where we go. The Bengals and Chiefs meeting again in the AFC title makes the 7th instance ever where two teams have met in back-to-back years in a conference title. When is the last time this happened?
Oof, good question. We ought to know that one, George, but I don't right now.
Yes.
But we ought to know that one.
Yeah, we should.
That's a good question. That one's a very fair one there.
Thank you, Watson. Appreciate that.
You wouldn't get that from George.
No.
Jeez.
If you want a hint, I'll give you a hint of just time frame. I think you guys would assume it's within the last 15 years, right? So I'm sure that, I don't know if that helps at all, but it's not from like 1992 that this happened.
Was it the 49ers and the Cowboys?
Oh, that's way earlier, Watson. That's in the 90s.
Yeah, that would have been.
That's Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson. How about them Cowboys?
Yeah. And were they back-to-back, weren't they? Did
Oh,
they play
yeah.
each other
Yeah,
back?
they were probably
yeah.
one of them, Watson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the Packers involved in this? No. I don't know. We should know this one.
Yeah, we should. We're not doing a very good job on this.
No,
one.
we're not.
Another hint.
No, this is embarrassing. Okay. I've
Demeaning.
well, no, it's a little embarrassing. This one, I just am not getting any
No brain processing.
feel for this. It seems to me, well, I'm going to give you the answer because it's hit me.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
When did it just now hit you?
Just hit me. It's Baltimore and New England.
Wow.
How does
Good
it just
job,
hit
Gordon.
you like? How
what
does it
made you
just hit
think
you
that?
like that?
Well, it just hit because I remember Baltimore missed a field goal that should have won in New England. And I don't remember whether it was the first game or the second one. They had New England beat. And their field goal kicker, and I don't guess it was Justin Tucker, gagged a really easy field goal. So,
Good job, George.
Yeah, impressive.
Good job.
Atta baby. Here we go.
Good job.
Okay, we're now into the 3:00 hour. This is a little different than what we normally do, but you know what? We don't have any real rules. This is a little different than radio, where you absolutely have certain rules of when you can and when you can't. Screw that. This is basically us saying, we don't think a lot of you have gotten to see the full press conference. It was Friday, involving Ran Carthon, the new Titans general manager, and of course, the head coach, Mike Vrabel. So let's watch it. It's about 26 minutes long. When it's over, we'll take a break and then we'll give you some of our commentary. Let's see what it was all about.
Hi, Ran. Teresa Walker with the Associated Press. As you are learning names, learning your way around this building, there's a lot of questions facing this franchise this offseason. Do you start with salary cap, or is quarterback maybe the top of your to-do list and trying to figure out where to go next?
I think Mike Vrabel is the top of my to-do list, and us working together and forging a relationship and coming up with our plan on how to build this roster. You know, I think there are a multitude of things that we need to do, that we need to fix and make this organization better. But my number one priority is spending more time with Mike Vrabel and learning the systems that are here in place and how I can help improve upon them, and which will help us build a championship team.
What are the challenges of getting to know your scouts and scouting simultaneously?
Well, it's so just kind of give you a little bit behind the curtain. Came in this morning pretty early before all of this. So I've already met with RC and the pro department, and then the college scouting department as well. My plan isn't to come in here and flip everything over right now. I think that would be extremely selfish. I'm the one new person in, so it's easier for one person to adjust to a group of 20 or 25 people. So my job right now is to come in and learn the systems and processes that have already been in place. And there are some commonalities from what J-Rob had here versus what I've had in the past. So it's a little bit easier to learn the language. But just over time, man, just spending time. It's just like any relationship. It takes time and it takes effort and work. And I'm willing to do that, and I'm going to do that.
You mentioned Mike. I mean, did you know Mike well before you got here? And maybe what have your thoughts been about him from afar and now getting to know him a little bit?
So Tuesday was the first time that I met Mike in person. 2005, I was a bottom of the roster player for the Colts. So I was inactive in the 2005 game, the Colts-Patriots game where Mike played. I was inactive, didn't get to meet him then. My father, who's here in attendance, was on the staff in 2009, 2010 at Kansas City Chiefs, where Mike finished. So never had a relationship with Mike. I've always respected him. Mike he's a football coach, and you could see that, and it permeates off of him off the screen. So I was excited to get the opportunity to meet with him this past Tuesday, and like he said, we just had a level of conversation that could have went hours. And so what I do recognize and understand with Mike, our core philosophy and just our ground base of football, it comes from a similar place. So that's going to allow us to kind of start, at a higher level. And I'm just looking forward to working with him and building this team.
Right, you're known as a collaborator, and that was a big thing that this organization wanted. In your meeting with Mike Vrabel, like what was it that made you feel like that relationship would work? And then also, how can you lean on your past experience seeing John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, how that worked? How will that help you in this relationship?
Right. So, I've been multiple organizations, like I've mentioned, and I've seen it done, different ways. But the best way I've seen it done is when the head coach and the GM are in lockstep, right? It's my job, it's our job as scouts is to execute Mike and his coaching staff's vision, right? I'm not calling plays on Sunday. I'm not designing plays throughout the week. And so it's our job to bring the right players in here to execute his vision. But in our conversation that we had the other day, again, like I said before, our grassroots, foundation of football comes from a similar place. And we see the game, the same way. And so I'm just excited to, learn those systems, the offensive system, defensive system, and special team system that he's put in place. And I think like having a better knowledge of that is going to help, me work with him and build a championship football team.
The fact that it's a GM job that's open, what was attractive about this specific job to you?
These people on the front row. Obviously, and I talked with Miss Amy about this, GM has always been a dream of mine, but it was always about the right fit, and it wasn't about getting the job. It was being in a place that's going to support you and put you in a position to keep the job. And like I said, when I met, these guys in, I guess 3-4 weeks ago, whenever it was, it really opened my eyes. And then throughout the interview process and actually getting a chance to meet Kenneth throughout that process, it just confirmed to me that this is the place that I wanted to be. I'm coming from a good situation in San Francisco. It was a really great building, a lot of strong relationships there. So for me to leave and want to seek opportunity somewhere else, it had to be a special place. And I truly believe that this place is special.
What would your team look like if everything goes according to plan?
We'd be hosting trophies and having parades and, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a process. And, like I said, our thing is right now is me and Mike developing our relationship and really me coming in this building and learning, what's in place and how I can add value. One thing I imparted on the group during my interview, my stepfather was in the military and I moved around, a bunch throughout my life. And living in San Jose these past few years, that's the longest I've ever lived in one spot in my 41 years of living. And so I've always had to be the person to come in and just insert myself into a new culture, learn that new culture and see where I fit. So I feel this is natural. This is a natural thing for me to do is come in and learn my fit. And over time, I'll establish myself, as a leader and help Mike build the team that he wants.
As you peruse this roster and you see kind of where things stand right now, do you feel like this team is maybe just a few fixes away from being a contender again, or do you feel like that there's major changes?
No, this is a competitive team. This is a competitive team, and we can win football games. But at the end of the year, you evaluate your roster every year, and you're always looking for ways to improve that. And so that's what we're going to do here. Although I feel the team is competitive and we're good, the objective is not be good. The objective is to be great. And so we're going to continue to work to build a great roster. And that's going to be every year, so you can always take it to a new height. So that's going to be our approach.
Are there common threads with the three organizations you've been with in terms of operations, scouting, decision making, all that? And if so, what are they?
So again, here under J-Rob's tutelage, under RC's tutelage, a lot of the core scouting aspects, the genesis of it was New England, which is where I cut my teeth in Atlanta under Thomas Dimitroff, who was a college director in New England. We learned the system from Les. We kind of brought a little bit of it to St. Louis. And then when I got to San Francisco, the aspects of it were the exact same under John Lynch and Adam Peters, who also worked with the guys in New England. So that's a lot of the foundation. And so those are the close things. I think in all three buildings, those three buildings, and now including this, as I'm getting to know these guys, there are great scouts here. There are guys who are passionate about the job, passionate about the sport, and passionate about winning. And so I think those common things will allow us to be successful.
What do you think of Ryan Tannehill, and is he your quarterback?
I don't think that's fair. At this point, we're still evaluating the roster. I am, and that's going to take further conversations with me and Mike. Ryan has been great here. He's won a lot of football games, and I look forward to us winning football games, but I still need more time, to evaluate and make those decisions. As you know, this is a quarterback-driven league, and people are hired and fired every day over that position. So I want to spend more time evaluating that position. So I'll have my own opinion, and Mike and I will confer and figure it out.
How much do you pull from your journey? Because it's been a ways to get here. You kind of described it from the different organizations you worked with, and pulling from what worked maybe and what didn't, and how beneficial is that now that you are that guy?
Well, like I said, coming in, I've seen it done, a bunch of different ways. And the one thing I take away from it is, again, goes back to that word collaboration. Like, collaboration truly works. Again, I've said it, kind of tongue in cheek, but I could be the greatest talent evaluator of all time, but if I can't bring Mike the players that he needs to fit his system, then it's not going to work. And it's, we're not here to collect talent. We're here to build a team. And so, just being able to pull from all my different experiences, I tell my kids all the time, every situation is a learning situation. You're either learning what to do or what not to do. And so taking from all those lessons of what to do, what not to do is going to help us in this part.
So much of your experience coming on the pro side, how much draft side experience did you get in the last 2 years with the elevation in San Francisco? And can you talk us through how much, while you're on the pro side, you were involved in the draft, or is that going to be a big jump for you?
No, so I've been predominantly pro by title. So I've had draft experience since I've come into this league. Just again under people who understood my skill set and allowed me to grow from that space. So director of pro scout, those have just been my titles, but not necessarily my job.
Thank you. You're the first Black general manager in this franchise. How significant is that for your family and you? And when did it kind of click that you made history?
It's very significant. I understand I'm standing on the shoulder of giants, and there have been plenty of men that have come before me that have laid this foundation that allowed me to be in this spot. And it's paramount in my mind to do the work and be successful, to leave the door open, for other young Black men that are coming behind me, because there are a lot of talented young Black men that could do the job. They just need the opportunity. And, I don't go out seeking, to be the first Black at anything. I just want to be the best me, and, very prideful. But I just want to be the best. I don't care if it's Black. I don't care if it's white. I want to be the best. And the significance of it, my aunt who's here, she texted me and asked, and I was like, honestly, I don't know. And she was like, well, you might want to find out, and no. And so that's when it first, dawned on me that I was the first Black GM in Titans history.
What kind of whirlwind has it been, Rand, since you got the job? I guess flying back and forth across the country, trying to learn, I guess, players on this team, people in this building, getting your family here. What has all that been like for you?
Man, I tell you, little bit of context. First interview was last Friday. Second interview was Tuesday. So let me rewind. First interview was Friday. Fly back to the Bay Area. San Francisco plays Seattle on Saturday. Go to that game. Get a email from Burke, Saturday night. Hey, if we wanted to bring you back, when can we do that? We set a date. I get a text from Burke Sunday morning. Hey, we need to push it up. I'm back on a flight Monday, back here, interview Tuesday, get a second interview. I'm sitting in the airport, and that's when I got the call, from Miss Amy. Just really sitting in the terminal, receiving all this information that my dream was coming true and can't react because I'm in a terminal full of people that don't know. And I remember calling my wife and telling her, and she kind of thought I was playing because I had to keep a stoic, straight face. And but from that point, it's been a whirlwind, right? So that happens Tuesday. I fly home Tuesday night. I go to the 49ers building Wednesday, get a few things. We're on a flight the next day coming here. And so it's been a whirlwind. I'll be honest, I don't feel like I've been able to fully process it, but it's been great. This is what I always dreamed of. And so I'm just embracing it all.
You played running back. Your dad was one of the best running back coaches and offensive coordinator. Do you think a team can win a Super Bowl in today's NFL built around a running back?
Yeah. I joke and I say, it's cute to play, Golden State Warriors football on, October, September. But when those conditions change and you can't throw the ball up and down the yard, you better be able to run it and you better be able to defend it. And I think if you look at the teams that are in the playoffs that are still playing at this stage, everybody's able to run the ball. So I think, that you can win championships that way.
How much does your past, your playing experience, how much does that help when it comes to painting that picture of a prospect for the scouts and coaches before they actually see him on film?
I think my playing experience just gives a different context, right, in terms of the evaluation, process. Things I learned, playing with Peyton Manning. You guys, Peyton for the Omaha and all those checks and calls, but it gives you can't just know your spot playing with a guy like that. So you have to know what everybody, is doing. And I think it kind of opens up your eyes when I'm from this vantage point of being a talent evaluator, of being able to understand who's making a mistake, who's right, who's wrong. And sometimes it kind of helps you, paint a better picture of those young men that are playing.
How much have you used analytics? Have the Niners and Rams front office used analytics in helping you to select players, both pro and in the draft? And what do you think about analytics use by your coach?
No, we've used analytics a lot in the 49ers. In actuality, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who's now the GM in Minnesota, he ran our analytics department a couple years ago. Spent a lot of time with those guys. I think it definitely plays a part. We trust our eyes as scouts, but sometimes the data can drive you to a decision and help you see it from a different vantage point. So I think there's a place in our game for it. We've talked about it during the interview. I think in the genesis of analytics, it was kind of pitting analytics and scouting, against each other. And a lot of the things we did in scouting was essentially analytics. It just didn't have the title. So it has a part in our game, and we're going to use every tool here to help us build a championship roster.
Yeah, the first NFL accelerator program, you get this job, Ian's right here with you. Do you think that's coincidence, or was it that helpful?
No, I think it's helpful, and extremely appreciative, to Commissioner Goodell, Jonathan Bean, and all those beautiful people at the league office that spearheaded the program. Again, that was my first introduction, to this group of people, and they embraced the process. Just being able to be in a room this size with owners and potential GM candidates, they were open to the conversation. And my initial conversation, with them, I guess, allowed them to be a little bit more comfortable with me and want to explore the possibilities. So it works. I'm here, I think, in part because of it. So it works. So it's something that I hope the league continues to use and continue to find a different way to grow it.
Individual experience that you had scouting with this 49er group, like an individual player that there's a story that you're really proud of that has materialized itself with the current 49ers roster?
That one, Two things, two stories, quick ones. You'll quickly learn about me. I like to tell stories. And it's not necessarily about myself, right? We talked about analytics earlier. Um, Demetrius Washington, he's the VP of Ops for Minnesota. He ran our analytics department after Kwesi left. He does his metrics, to find, all his guys. So he comes to me, he has a running back, and he's like, man, my numbers are telling me this is the best outside zone running back in the draft. He was like, but I'm not walking in there with Kyle with just this paper to say that. Can you watch this guy and see if you can confirm what the tape saw? And I watched the tape. That was my first exposure to the player, and I agreed with him. And then that player ended up being Elijah Mitchell that we took in the 6th round, which last year, if we don't have Elijah, we don't go on the run that we went on. And even added to that story, D'Amico Ryans, it was his first year as D coordinator. And that round, that pick was going to be his linebacker. And D'Amico, some kind of when he came in the draft room, Elijah's tape was on, and he was watching Elijah, and he called Johnny Holland, our linebacker coach, up, and was like, "Coach, this running back is better than the linebacker we're going to pick." And so we shifted from taking a linebacker and took Elijah, and it just kind of shows to the collaboration of how that whole operation works. So those are the two that stood out.
What is it about the 49ers organization? What did you learn from that they've had such success with guys like Mitchell or George Kittle, even Brock Purdy in the late rounds of drafts?
So that was one of the things I touched on as well in my interview. Um, Again, it goes back to the word collaboration. That 5th, 6th, 7th round is work of the scouts, and it's the work of the assistant coaches. Those guys spending time together, understanding the scheme and finding players, quote unquote, depth level players that are going to fit our roster and help fill out the bottom of our roster. So those are the areas where you start to use more of your staff, right? And so us being able in San Francisco to hit on those picks was totally a collaboration of our assistant coaches and our scouts.
What you've seen in this team, the identity of the Titans the last few years, what jumps out? And do you feel like that your preference and what you're going to bring is going to fit that existing identity?
What jumps out is how hard and how tough this team is, how hard they play. And I think the team has been made in the image of our head coach. Mike is a tough guy. He works hard. I just almost said something else, and I saw my kids sitting there. But I think the team is built in his image, and what Mike believes in. And like I said before, our core foundation of football comes from the same tree, and I believe in those.
This team's been devastated by injuries the last 2 years. Did you discuss that with Mike, and how much do you envision kind of turning over every stone to see what medical department, science, analytics, all of those things tell you about how to maybe limit those as best you can in a violent sport?
We talked about it, and we're going to explore every option to figure out how we can keep our guys on the field. But like you said, it's a violent sport. There's not going to be a perfect way to keep everybody healthy. That's just not possible. But we're going to explore every option to figure out how we're going to be able to maximize keeping our guys on the field.
What's your policy then, or your idea on bringing in guys who are currently injured or have a history of injury?
I mean, obviously, you don't want to hopefully not bring in, injured guys, right? You can't get anything out of anyone if they're not available. So our mission is going to be to put, systems in place where we can get guys on the healthier side. But once you kick this thing off, nobody's ever 100%, again. So it'll be about, maximizing guys with where they are.
Ran, how familiar are you with this roster already, and kind of walk us through the process for you the next couple of days or weeks, trying to get up to speed with where this team is currently?
I have a solid baseline of the team. That's a part of the interview process, right? You can't go in there and try to fake your way through the job, because Miss Amy's going to ask the question and she knows the answer. So I feel good about my knowledge of the roster. But again, that's tape. I don't know the people, and that's where Vrabes and I, when we spoke, he was giving me a little insight on the people. So I think that's just as important, because I have a thing, it's not mine. Stole it from a friend. It's called a 21-3 rule. Right. So, and he's in the NBA. we all have a way of seeing these players as players 24 hours a day, when in actuality they're only players while they're in your building. So I think it's just as important to know the people, just as well as you know the player. So that's the area where with our roster, I want to get to know the people, and I'm going to make a couple phone calls to a couple guys, when I leave from here. And what was the second part of your question?
Just what the process is like for you in the next couple of days and weeks, getting up to speed with where everything's at currently.
Meetings and more meetings. Vrabes and I are going to continue to spend time together, continue to spend time with the scouts. Again, I'm learning their systems and processes right now for the next 4 months, learning their language. So it's going to be, time on task. So that's going to be it for the next 4 months until we find the right process that fits, our organization. It's not about what I want to come in here and do, but the scouts, they're the lifeblood of what we do. So I want to be able to put something in place that benefits them. And so we're going to continue to create that over the coming months.
Have you and Mike had any discussions yet about the offensive coordinator opening and just kind of how involved in that search do you want to be?
No, like I said, man, I just got here yesterday. Just got hired on Tuesday. I'm here to help Mike in any way that he sees fit. Obviously, Mike has been here. He has a way he wants to do things, and I respect that totally. So wherever I can add value to Mike from that standpoint, I'm here for it. I don't think that matters because I think the word and what we truly believe here is collaborating. I think all that comes down to, in my opinion, is a matter of ego. Mike and I, we're here to work together, and we're going to bring the people in here that we see fit. And we're not going to see it the same way all the time, but he and I will have the mutual respect to be able to work through that, and we'll get the right people in here.
You being a former running back and watching Derrick Henry throughout these years, specifically the success that he's had in this organization, what are your thoughts on him as a back and now being able to be here with a guy like that?
Man, it's crazy. Like, I've been watching Derrick since he was at Yulee, high school, Florida boy. So it's crazy to see how I remember Coach Parcells told me one time, running back is a production-based position. If you didn't get yards in high school and college, you're not getting them on this level. And if you look at Derrick's history, he got yards in high school, he got them in college, and he's got them at this level. And, more than anything, I can't wait to stand next to him to size him up, to see how big he really is in person.
I guess I'm curious, who's responsible for you coming up with the blue tie and outfit, and all your kids I know are in the matching J's, and what is that like going from having everybody all in on the Falcons, the Rams, 49ers, and now the Titans?
So I will give my agent Sean, he's somewhere in here, his pitch to my wife, all with Titan blue, find him a Titan blue tie. So I'm not responsible for the tie. My wife found it. The J's were also her idea. She FaceTimed me the other day and she was like, "What do you think about these?" And I saw them in the kid version. So I was like, "No, get me some too. I want, I want those too." But again, honestly, man, like it's been a whirlwind. My two sons that are here, they're all in on football, and they spend a lot of time in the locker room. They spend a lot of time around the guys, and just being able to share those experiences with them. And my daughters came up as Falcons and Rams and 49ers, and hopefully we're here for a long time, and they could officially be Titans kids.
John was executive vice president or vice president with you and Mike. Clearly defined roles. And this is a question more for Amy, I guess, but who's in charge of the football operation?
Again, I'm gonna beat you guys to death with this word collaboration. That's why I'm here, because Miss Amy sees me as a collaborator. So we're here to collaborate. We're here to build this thing together. I think so many times in our game, we're trying to fit people into boxes, and that's just, in my mind, that's archaic. We have to create a free-flowing environment, and that's not only with Mike and I downstairs, but it's with the people upstairs, too. So it's got to be a free-flowing collaborative effort, and I understand, you got a job to do to, define these things, but we're truly going to collaborate. And so I don't think it matters who's over football operations, the kitchen staff or whatever. Our job is to build the best building possible, and we're going to do that.
Saw you come in maybe 15 obviously made an impression on you, that entrance. How about your family? What did that mean to them?
Man, it's been crazy, right? So we come in and, the whole world of the Titans was here, and just the outpour, of love that we've gotten from just that video alone, from the highest of high, it's been amazing, and again, it's a testament to who this organization is. My family and I, we already feel welcome. We already feel a part of it. And honestly, man, my wife asked me last night, like, how could I try to remain so cool under that environment? But looking up and seeing all those people feeling the applause, that motivated me. That motivated.
So, first of all, I'm glad we were able to give you, well, I guess I'm still glad we were able to give you the full version of what went on with Ran Carthon's press conference as the new Titans general manager. We'll go to a break, then we'll have our reactions to it. So stick around. This is the George Plaster Show.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is simple. I chose Hermitage Strike and Spare. They were amazing. Great food, great bowling, and a staff that's ready to go the extra mile. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5665.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
First of all, thanks to so many of you who already live have watched the press conference. It's obvious that not many of you got the chance to see the full 26 minutes of it. So I'm glad we were able to bring that to you. Okay, so there's no question this guy is articulate, very well spoken. If he was half as good in the interview process as he was in the press conference, you can see why they picked him. Watson, there's a lot, without knowing much about him, there's a lot to like off what we just saw.
Well, what I've always said about press conferences, and Lord knows I've been in a bunch of them, all you can do in a press conference is hurt yourself, and he sure didn't do that. He handled himself first class. He answered everything in the way that I felt like was a team answer. And there's nothing else you can do. I think you can hurt yourself in press conferences with some of the things you might say. He did not do that. I got it that he's 100% wanting to do it in Mike's philosophy, the way Mike wants to do it. He's the type GM that I would want with that philosophy. I wouldn't want a guy to come in and say, well, with these guys we got here, we should do this. I wouldn't want that. I would want a guy to say, okay, this is what you need. Let's go find it. If this is what you need at linebacker, let's go find it. And so I was very impressed with him. The only thing that I got was, man, I'm already learning them a little bit, but I want to learn the offense and defensive philosophies. Well, if he's learning an offensive philosophy, maybe we're keeping the one we got, maybe that's what we're going to do. I can't see Mike leaving his philosophy. And therefore I think he's going to go to Ran and say, here's what I need at this position. Here's what I need at this position. Looks to me like a good hire to me, George. I think it's what Mike needs. Mike does not need a ego, patting chest. Mike Vrabel don't need that because that's not Mike. Mike doesn't do that. He needs a guy kind of in the same mode he's in. I think this guy fits Mike's mode.
Yeah, Watson, I totally agree. I was really impressed just by his answers. And I think, honestly, when it came to Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, who are coming up kind of at the end of their contracts, and they're going to have to make a decision about what they want to do with him or what they want to do with both of those guys, I felt like the answers he gave were the perfect answers, which is I'm not even going to comment on the Ryan Tannehill. I just got here. When they asked about, can you build a roster around a running back? I'm saying, sure. Yeah, absolutely you can. I felt like there were some trap questions there that he definitely could have gotten into, definitely could have gotten in the weeds of some stuff. And probably, we could take a quote he says and misinterpret it. But what you're saying is exactly the truth. In those interviews, all you can do with those press conferences, all you can do is hurt yourself. And he was not willing to go and step into any of those kind of traps that maybe some of those reporters were asking him about. And so I also know if I'm Coach Vrabel, I really appreciate, obviously you got to back it up with what you do, but really appreciate just even the way that he went about that interview. So yeah.
To me, that's one of the important things about running it is there's a difference between reading quotes in a paper and seeing what the person's reactions are, why he's saying what he's saying, that email or print doesn't necessarily do justice to, which is one of the reasons I wanted to run the full thing and give everybody that chance. So we now know the word collaborative was a big deal in this whole search. And I guess, Watson, he sold them that, hey, I trust Mike Vrabel. If this is what he says he wants, I'm going to go to try to help go get him what he wants.
Well, the one thing that kept sticking out, he went back to it probably 6-7 times. We came from the same tree. We've been through the same philosophies. And that, of course, that's through the Patriots and the Belichick philosophies and how to do things. And there's no doubt in my mind, Bill Belichick is the one that's in charge of the philosophy, and he has help on picking the players in that philosophy. And I think Mike came up that way. Ran came up that way. I think the 49ers are being run that way right now. And when you start having the GM start making philosophical moves, I think you're in a kiss of death. It's a matter of time that you're going to go down. You've got to let the head coach lay down the law on what he wants to do. Because, George, when he said, we put things in boxes too much, he's exactly right. You can't just go take an outside linebacker that's a great player that if you're in a 4-3 scheme and he's got to put his hand on the ground and he's never done that's stupid. So that's what I think he's doing. He will do. He was a football player, which I also think that's one reason I think Lynch is really good at 49ers. I think it's great that I think that's one thing we don't do now, George and Michael, Billy. In college, we've lost the guy that knows the game as ADs. ADs now are businessmen. They're fundraisers.
Bean counters.
They don't know the game, and we've lost that. And right now, I think the NFL is doing a better job of that than college football is.
Yeah, and you could tell he was really prepared for that. I think that was a big thing, and I think that might be a little foreshadowing of what we might see from him. Just prepared, on task, and he'll be kind of ready for anything. And I think that's what they needed.
Yeah, one thing that I took that I thought was really important, and it wasn't a cheap shot at anybody or anything like that. There really were no cheap shots, but just the importance of, being cut from the same cloth, Watson, like you were talking about, but also this ability to run the football. I think it's really, really good that the Titans didn't go and try to hire somebody that they're not. They didn't go try to hire somebody that has a totally different philosophy than Mike Vrabel, that we need to throw it all the way around the yard. And they hired somebody that really believes, listen, we want to run the football. We want to be tough on defense, and we want to shorten the game down a little bit. We want to be everybody's worst nightmare trying to play. And, he talked about that of it's fun to throw the ball around, kind of be cute in the first, 6 weeks of the season.
Golden State Warriors.
Sure. Yeah. The Golden State Warriors quote, but you better be able to run the stinking football. And that's not to say it's Derrick Henry. It could be somebody else, but I think that's, the mold. He understands really well the mold of this Titan team, their identity. He mentioned it. It fits. It's the colors of their head coach, Mike Vrabel, and he's not going in trying to change that. And, Watson, we talk about what's your identity all the time, teams knowing who they are. And I think this press conference was positive for, reestablishing, reaffirming, we're just going to try to be the best version of who we are, but we're not trying to be like anybody else. And so I thought that was a positive thing.
I would say, Michael, before he got on the plane to head to Nashville for the first interview, he knew that he better have that philosophy.
Yep.
Or he was going to have no shot whatsoever. I did get the strong feel that Mike is probably going to be more involved this go around than he was the first time. That's the one thing I took out of it. I can't give you an example of that. It was just a feel I got through that whole conference that Mike is going to be a lot more involved this time than he was with John. That
it's almost like
John
he made
most
a point
of the calls, and Mike now is going to be more in it than he was. And I don't think Mike wasn't in it. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But I think Mike's going to be more in it with this guy.
George, that was his first answer. It's almost like he made a point to say Mike Vrabel is my number one priority in this.
Yeah,
Well, it
and
absolutely should be. I thought that was a great answer, because how could it be anything but? You and the GM, the football coach and GM, got to work. Man, you got to be connected at the hip, in my personal opinion, to make this work.
okay, so let's take it to, I don't know, boil it down to the low gravy. They're not bringing in somebody from Kansas City. Off of this, I would absolutely be floored.
Yes.
If the person that walks in as offensive coordinator has this stuff on. I don't see it.
No, especially after that interview. I was thinking about that when they asked him about the offensive coordinator job. I'm not saying it can't happen, but with everything he talked about, I don't know how you then jump to go hire a guy that comes from the Andy Reid tree. And that's not to say that wouldn't be a great hire, but when you're talking about trying to get your identity, Watson, you were with us on this one?
Yeah, I am. The only guy from Kansas City could be Matt Nagy, because he did not run the Kansas City offense with the Bears. He did not. He went a different route, and so I don't know who they bring in. I still got a feeling it's going to be Kelly gets moved up, but if they bring one in, he's going to do the changing. It's not going to be the Titan changing to whoever comes in. That's what I say.
So is that totally good?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what we do as an offense. When we were healthy last year, we had very good balance, George. But it seemed like as we went on and we got hurt late in the year, and then all this year and got the injuries right out the gate, we got highly conservative, even worse so. But when we were rolling in that number one seed, we weren't just all handed to Derrick all the time. We weren't. And A.J. Brown was having a heck of a year. So I would like to think that's what we're going to see when we bring in another guy. I think Mike is looking to do one thing better: pass the ball, protect better, throw it better, pass the ball when we got to pass it. I think that's what Mike Vrabel down inside, he won't ever say it to us, but I think that's what he's looking for.
Completing forward passes.
Okay, so if that's the case, and I mean, it would have to be. This is as bad a receiving core as there is in the league, if not the worst, pretty doggone close. So let me ask you all this, and then we'll kind of cut off the discussion. We know there are a lot of needs, and we know that this guy is going to walk in and realize, I've got some problem solving to do. Can you solve it all in 1 year?
I don't think you can. Go ahead, Watson, if you want to go first.
Go ahead, Michael.
I don't think you can. I think you can address a couple needs and then kind of patch everything. You know, it's a work in progress. It's not as easy as we'd like to make it as fans. We'll do this, and it's all. I think you got to first start out and address the most important needs. You know, what can we not make it another year without at least really trying to address? And then obviously you're going to have some areas that you're a little bit weaker in that you're going to have to patch up. You know, offensive line, wide receiver, you know, those are some areas that are immediate. You've got to address coming out. Obviously there's some issues in a lot of different places, but I don't think it's realistic to think that you can just totally fill this team to exactly how you want it in a year. I think you got to look at what can we fix now? Where are we in the draft? What can we afford free agents wise? You know, a lot of that comes into the scope of who's available. But I think you can patch up a lot of things, but they're not long-term fixes. I think you got about 1 to 2 positions you can probably fix long-term here.
I can answer that in 2 words: cap space. I think it's all off of money they have, George, how far they can go. And that just starts with the big decisions with Taylor Lewan, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. They got to go there first, because you can't come up with a philosophy till you know the dollars you have. And so I think it's 2 words: cap space. I think that's what they deal with immediately right out the gate.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed getting the chance to see the entire interview with Ran Carthon. He's the new Titans general manager. He has got his work cut out for him. Plaster Bet of the Day is coming up next. Attention Vanderbilt fans. The Nashville Predators are continuing their College Night series, and Vanderbilt Night is Thursday, January the 26th. Students, alumni, and fans are invited to celebrate. College Night series ticket packages include a Predators game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/College Nights. Anchor down. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. Final segment on this Monday afternoon. It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day. It's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. That's 615-242-9000. Or log on to bartdurham.com. Watson, can you believe what has happened in the last week? I mean, this is nothing short of a miracle.
I mean, the guy's had a couple of miracles here in the last little bit. He had a physical miracle where he's feeling a lot better, and this is just a luck miracle. I mean, he just fell into something, got him right, and got himself back above 500.
No.
Did you find the pot of gold under the rainbow or
First of all,
something,
it's
George?
not this simple. Okay. This is the heart of a champion. This is someone who refuses.
Here we go, Michael. You're going to learn, buddy. This is the best front running dude that I've ever been around in my life.
The heart of a champion.
You can get on him, you can do anything you want, but when he gets rolling, just get the heck out of the way because, man, the ego comes and breaks the windows down when he gets going.
This is Patrick Mahomes of Bet of the Day.
Oh, Lord. Lord. Listen, Watson, I'd want to give him a compliment, but he does it for himself.
No, you don't need to, but you'll learn that. He can handle that all on his own.
Well, I know it's not going to come out of you all. So, I have to do what I have to do.
Oh, yeah, you do, don't you?
Yeah, sure do.
George Watson, right now, George is like he's like an injured dog. I tried to give him a compliment about his haircut, and the first thing he thought was that I was messing with him. I can't even give him a compliment.
Well, hold on a second. There's a little more to this than just that. And we don't have the time to get into it. But you tried to play that game Friday with what really was a cheap shot. And you know it, and I know it, and more importantly, Billy knows it.
Hey, George.
Oh, yes.
George, next time you get a haircut by putting a bowl on your head, at least get a bowl that fits your head. Okay? It needs to fit right on your head where you can get it cut. When it's too small, then it doesn't come out right. You got to learn. Bowl on the head, make sure the bowl fits.
Talk about cheap shots.
I mean, that's a just straight daiquiri.
Well, whatever. You think I'm paying any attention to this?
No.
Look, let's get to the bottom line. I've won 7 in a row.
Unbelievable.
There it is. Somebody's got to.
So, is there a number 8 in our future?
Only time will tell.
I don't know. There wasn't a lot tonight. On the college front, the Kansas Baylor game is the best game on the board. I don't trust Baylor. In this setting against Kansas, they throw up a bunch of bricks. I wanted to take Baylor, but I know that they can be men of Mason, just bricklayers. Yeah. So
like Butch Jones.
So here's what we're going with.
The Grizz.
I'm taking the Grizz on the road at Sacramento. Grizz have been pretty darn good.
They've won 11 of their last 12. So
I like it.
I'd say that's a pretty good bet.
Memfo. You got pretty good odds too, being on the road. -1.5, not bad. Is anybody sitting for them? I feel like
I don't know. Let's hope it's not
John Morant.
Yeah. If it is, we may halt the proceedings.
You might want to look it up. You still got time to change it before the show's over, George.
If they get in trouble, just stick John's dad in the game.
He'll
rough somebody up.
Wow.
Was it him and Shannon Sharp got into
Shannon
it?
Sharp, what need? Come on.
What is he even doing?
Go to the game and act like adults.
John Moran, his dad has some experience with that.
Shocking. Tomorrow on the show, Tony Basilio, Knoxville, Tennessee. That's always interesting. And then Taylor Barnett will join us during the 3:00 hour. And hopefully at that point, I'll have won 8 in a row. He can take all the cheap shots he wants. I'll pay no attention. Watson, you need to clean up your attitude.
I'll do my best. And George, by the way, getting a close up now, your haircut looks nice.
Thank you.
It looks very nice.
That's really nice of you.
I'm getting my blonde hair cut on Thursday. So on Thursday you can compliment me when I come in with my haircut.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Michael, thank you for being with us as well.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
Billy, behave until tomorrow.
Thanks, George.
We'll have a good show tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. We'll see you in about 22 hours.